Okay. Everybody see me? Can we see what's going on? Good. Now, a lot of people are asking, why am I in this get-up making that action like that? Well, I'm here to show you what happens when you're attacked by an unarmed man in the middle of the night who is 3 inches taller than you. Remember, I was unarmed, right? Well, except for... Yeah, I know. Hide the kids. I was unarmed except for my Glock and my 1911. And my baby knife and my cold steel knife. And my Swiss Army knife, Victorinox, and except for my Husky utility knife, and my utility blade with the safety blade where you gotta hold like that in order to keep it in, and my Smith & Wesson knife. Haven't opened this blade in a few months. Okay. Now, I was not armed with my Swiss Army knife because it takes 2 hands to open it. Who wants to look at this stuff here? Get a look at that? Those are the knives and guns I had in my pocket. Okay? Now, I'm actually clapping to see if there's anything else. Okay? Now, Trayvon Martin ended up being disarmed. But did George Zimmerman know that at the time? Hold on a minute. Got my talking points here. Okay. Okay. Now, let's talk about 17-year-old children, shall we? Children are innocent when they're 17. Let me readjust the plug, and I have the camera recharging. Let me readjust the plug. There we go. Let me turn on the goddamn thing. I'm trying to keep the camera plugged in because I don't know how long the video is going to go for. Yep. We're all plugged in now. Alright. Now, let's talk about some 17-year-old children, shall we? Yeah, no. Okay. When I was a kid, 17, 16, some of my fellow children were 6'1", 220 pounds or so. We had a guy named Francis. Well, his name, we call him Fran. Now, Fran was one of the meanest fighters in the city at 17. One time I saw him walking, he was a year ahead of me in high school. One time I saw him walking around with his hand busted up, and I said, Fran, what happened to you? He said, some guy pissed me off, so I busted his fucking face open, and I got bruises on my hand. A few days later, I'm down to the first floor cafeteria for lunch. I'm going up to the 3rd floor to my locker. I come back. You ever just stand on the 3rd floor, look down the 1st floor, like the stairwell? I see some pandemonium breaking out. Now, Fran was down on the 1st floor, and some dude named Shabudu had a problem. Now, when he and Shabudu settled their differences, Shabudu had to leave an ambulance, And Fran also had to leave in an ambulance because Fran re-injured his hand punching Shibudo in the face. Let's talk about another 17-year-old child, Craig, who was also a year older than me, like Fran. Craig was a friend of mine, and one day I'm jerking him off. One day I said to him, like, "Who's your bitch, Danielle?" Because Danielle was his girlfriend at the time. I was just, years ago, a lot of the guys, like my girlfriend, they would say my bitch. Yeah, I know, very respectful women. Now, Craig didn't like that. I was 145 pounds back then. And Craig ran me by the throat, held me up, and said to me, "Are we ever going to say that again?" And I said, okay. I seen Craig a couple years ago. He's a lot whiter now. There was a kid in my, I took a substance abuse class in 2010, September to December 2010. There was a woman there that said, "I have a son who's 12. He's a big kid." She had to bring the big kid in a couple days. This kid was a 12-year-old white kid. I'm 185 pounds. He had 50 pounds on me. I'd love to see this kid today at 15. Okay, now imagine if that kid had an attitude problem and I ran into him in a dark alley at night. I'll tell you right now, he'd fucking break me in half. Luke Woodham. Remember Luke Woodham? He was a 17-year-old child. He got his mother in the middle of the night with a butcher knife. Then he got a couple of guns, went to school, shot up a couple of kids, and the assistant principal was a military reserve officer. He took out his Colt 1911 from his car and went and arrested Luke Woodham. Look at these 17-year-old children that shoot up schools. Dylan Klebo was a 17-year-old child. There was a 17-year-old kid on America's Most Wanted a few years ago. He got together a gang. They did some violent home invasion where they beat up a couple of old people. He robbed a bank. And as he was robbing the bank, getting away, he was shooting at police with a long gun. And the female DA who was going after him said, "This is not an innocent little child, this is a criminal." He was a 17-year-old child. You see these kids all the time. They terrorize people. You see kids out of control on these TV talk shows. You got kids 13, 14, 15 throwing their grandmothers down the flight of stairs, putting holes in walls, ripping doors off hinges. Okay, just going fucking psycho. Okay? My friend, years ago, I mentioned this with my video. My friend years ago, she's from Yonkers. She's 5 years younger than me. Her and her boyfriend were at a party for some friends of theirs in Manhattan. You know how you go to a party and you see your friends that you don't know? Well, there was an altercation where her boyfriend was allegedly hit with a bottle. That was proven false. But one rumor was the boyfriend got into a fight. One rumor was the boyfriend got into a shoving match. One rumor was the boyfriend was beaten up. The bouncers came, broke up the crowds, threw them out. They didn't call the police. According to one story, the boyfriend is standing outside. "I got a knife, I got a knife, I got a knife, I got a knife." And when the rival people came out, he stabbed one of them in the chest with his little knife and killed him. The other story was he was waiting on the corner for his girlfriend to come out, and the gang approached him, hit him in the face, knocked him to the ground. 6 or 7 big guys on top of him, punching him, kicking him. He loses his shirt, loses his shoes, stabs one kid, gets away. His injuries were less than severe than George Zimmerman. Went before a grand jury said self-defense. I didn't see Al Sharpton, I didn't see Jesse Jackson, I didn't see anybody like that. He was 22, they were 25 at the time. Now, you ever see the cop kill with the kid that has a toy gun? Cop's walking by a dark alley, he sees a kid pull a gun, he says to the kid, "Drop it." Kid keeps coming, he shoots him. What does he find out? The gun was a toy. He didn't know that. That's why they got the little orange thing on the front of the toy now. The muzzle of the toy. Toy knife. You can see guys with toy knives. Cops in the middle of the dark. He sees a guy advancing on him. He shoots him. You see a guy with an unloaded gun. Cop shoots him. It's unloaded. I thought it was loaded. I couldn't tell. It was dark. You ever see a cop chase a guy down the alley? Guy goes in his pants real fast. Cop shoots him. It doesn't matter that after the situation ended, we realized the cop or the citizen might not have been in danger, but it was at the time they thought they were in danger. The cop thought the gun was loaded. That's why it's okay legally. You see a guy in your house in the middle of the night. You for some reason don't have a flashlight. Maybe you dropped it, maybe you lost it, maybe whatever. You got your gun on the guy. The guy's coming at you with a fly swatter. 2 o'clock in the morning, all the lights are out. Okay. You shoot him in the face, he dies. Turn on all the lights. It's a fly swatter. I thought it was a hatchet. It's dark. I told him to stop. He didn't stop. Okay, so in the confusion, things happen. We found out later that George Zimmerman might not have died from the injuries that he had had. But what if Trayvon Martin gave him one more punch, and that one more punch broke his head open? We'll never know because Zimmerman shot Martin, and Martin didn't kill Zimmerman. Okay, we only know one story because that's what happened. Now, this is a big deal because Al Sharpton and other scumbags want to make it into a race war. Now, there was a black man in Washington State laying on the ground and a white man beat the piss out of him. And as the white man is beating him, he thinks he's gonna die. He reaches in his pocket, whips out a .357 Magnum, shoots the white man dead. The police come, he's beat up. He says, I thought the guy was gonna kill me. I defended myself. Wasn't even arrested. There was a situation in New York State. I heard 5 guys, I heard 3 guys, but there was a black man in his home in New York State. Some hooligans, some white hooligans are outside his house in New York State, and they're terrorizing him, threatening him, daring him, challenging him. He picks up his gun, goes outside, confronts the white thugs, a fight breaks out, the gun goes off, and one of the white guys dies. It was a black adult fighting white teenagers. Cops come, my property, Castle Doctrine, I was defending myself. My grandfather told me white hoodlums, the Klan came to lynch black folk. I was defending myself. Wasn't even arrested. There's another story I want to tell you about how innocent children are. There was a 15, 16, and 17-year-old group of kids. I forgot to mention before. 15-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid. They break into a woman's home for fun. She's in her 40s. She wakes up, probably to go to the bathroom, notices the kids. They get this no witnesses shit in their head. They tie her hands and feet, gag her, take her car keys, take her car, kidnap her, bring her to a bridge, pitch her off the bridge. She's dead. Children are innocent when they're 15, 16, and 17. They can do no harm to anybody. Forgot to mention that. Now, let's talk about the Martin Zimmerman from both sides. Now, there was a justifiable need for concern because there were some burglaries in the neighborhood and there were some violent home invasions in the neighborhood. So Zimmerman had some degree of concern. He sees a man with the hood that's walking too close to the buildings, the houses. Is he just going inside to hurt somebody? Is he just walking through the neighborhood? What is he doing? Calls 911, gets out of the car, which he should not have done, pursues. I would have stayed in the car, even if I had to jump on the sidewalk and drive on the grass. I would have stayed in the truck. The truck. Okay. So now, Now when dispatcher says, what does he look like? White, black, or Hispanic? Hey, he looks black. Are you pursuing him? Yes, I am. We don't need to do that. Go back to your truck. One side of the coin says that Zimmerman, fruit fly. One side of the coin says that Zimmerman pursued Martin after the dispatcher said go back, found him, and shot him. Zimmerman says he was going back. And as he was going back, Martin and him bumped into each other. That might be true because he was saying on the phone, I'm going back to my truck now. Now, some people believe that Martin and Zimmerman lost each other and then bumped into each other again and the fight ensued. But Greta Van Susteren was out there, and from the point of the fight to Martin's house, Martin's father's house, you could have run there in 15 seconds. So many people believe that Martin actually turned around and went back to look for Zimmerman. There's like a 4-minute interval between Zimmerman losing track of Martin and then finding each other again. Now, Zimmerman should have stayed in the truck. Okay, good. He didn't do that. Now, he and Martin confront each other. Allegedly, Martin says, you got a problem with me, and Zimmerman says, no. Well, you got a problem now, motherfucker. And punches him in the face and knocks him to the ground. Martin punching Zimmerman. Now, if you believe that you are in danger and you punch a guy and he goes down, leave. Because Castle Doctrine is stand your ground that if he gets back up, you don't know what he's got in his pockets. You don't know if he's a better fighter than you. You thought you were right. Punch him in the face. Knock him on his ass. Go away. Call the police. Worst things worse, you'll probably get charged with disorderly conduct, or they'll wash it away real quick. Little fine. 1 day community service. Not a big deal. Martin does not do that. Martin gets down, punches Zimmerman. According to Zimmerman, he covered his mouth. Maybe true, maybe not. Now, did Martin bang his head against the concrete on purpose, or did he just punch the head and have the head go back? We may never know. But at this point, Zimmerman honestly and reasonably believes his life is in danger. Pulls out the gun and shoots. Now, Martin's stats are 5'11", 160 pounds. Zimmerman is 5'8", 185 pounds, but Martin is healthier and he's a better fighter, according to testimony from defense witnesses like detectives, forensic scientists. They said Martin had the upper hand in the fight because he was younger and healthier. On top of that, laying on your back and your fucking face pummeled in, you know what I mean? So, here's what happened. The jury believes that Zimmerman believed he was defending himself and he gets let off. And like I said, we'll never know, could that last punch have been fatal? Let's face it, you're in the dark, you got a guy 3 inches bigger than you. That's why during the demonstration I had the camera tilted. Guy's 3 inches bigger than you. Okay? You're not gonna be like, wait a minute, son, how old are you? You're 17? Wait, you're just a kid. Okay? You're not gonna be doing that. Al Sharpton thinks you are, but you're not. Okay? So, Zimmerman pulled the trigger. And like the black man killing the white man in Washington, like the black man killing the white man in New York, he was let go. The only difference is he had to go to trial. This goes to show you, sometimes you gotta stay in the truck, but then again, sometimes when you punch a guy in the face and he goes down, you gotta get away. Now, stand your ground. Okay. They didn't even talk about standing your ground, believe it or not, at the trial. Now, you're laying on your back. You have a 5'11", 160 pound man beating the shit out of you. Can you leave? Stand your ground says you don't have to leave if you don't want to. But you probably can't leave. That was the issue. Zimmerman's getting the shit beat out of him. He doesn't know if Martin has his stuff in his pockets. And this is a little extreme, but I'm trying to demonstrate for you. Now, let's talk about the real killers of black people. between the day Martin was shot and the day Zimmerman was exonerated. 11,106 black people were killed by black people. Black on black homicide is now 93%. That means out of every 100 black people that are found killed, whether it's murder or self-defense, every time, out of every 100 times you see a black body laying in the street somewhere, okay, 7% of the time it could be white person, Hispanic person, Asian person, unknown person. But 93 out of those 100 black people is known to be a black person killing them. Let's ignore that. Let's just talk about this for a minute. Yeah, good. Now, let's face it. If Trayvon Martin was white, no one would give a shit. If Trayvon Martin was black and was killed by a black man, no one would give a shit. If you had a 12-year-old black kid who was a straight A student, liked to read, wanted to become a doctor, and he was walking back from helping an old lady across the street, and a black man saw him, called him the N-word, chased him, pulled out a gun, shot him in the spine, stood over him and said, "See you in hell, motherfucker," and blew his fucking head out of his fucking brains out of his head, where would Al Sharpton be? Nowhere. Where would the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division be? Nowhere. Who would be wearing t-shirts, justice for a 12-year-old black kid? No one. There was a 6-year-old black kid from my hometown. I know this because my friend was his teacher's aide. He went to North Carolina to visit his godmother, 6 years old. In the house, outside of the house, a black gangbanger comes along, and the black gangbanger thinks his enemy is inside the house. Pulls out his gun, fires the gun into the house. The enemy is down the street. One of the stray bullets kills a 6-year-old kid. So you got a black gangbanger trying to kill another black gangbanger, and the victim is a 6-year-old boy. Where's Al Sharpton? Nowhere. Now, how many black on white crimes have there been since the verdict? 1,000? White guys jogging on the street. 3 black guys get him in the car, drag him away, beat the shit out of him on the side of the road. Okay? White woman, daughter and granddaughter on the way to the hospital. Crowds are blocking the streets. They're physically hitting the people in the car. I mean, you have black on white race crime. Race crime is always wrong. It doesn't matter if you're a white guy hanging black people, if you're a black guy hanging white people. Race crime is always wrong. But why doesn't the media want to talk about that? Because they don't. Now, O.J. Simpson cut his ex-wife's head off with a Swiss Army knife, not a stiletto. Her boyfriend is coming along, probably to return her glasses. He probably sees more than he should see. His head gets cut off too. The same people that are running through the streets demanding justice for Trayvon Martin are the same people that were cheering because they knew that O.J. Simpson was guilty. But they just got a really bad fucking kick out of seeing a black guy kill 2 white people and go to the white man's court and get away with it. Okay? All this is about is color and race crime. And it shouldn't be. I'm going to show 2 videos down below. One is Hannity last night debating a white congressman, Republican, and a black congressman, a Democrat. The black congressman is Bobby Rush from Chicago. Bobby Rush, in addition to being a piece of shit, is also a Black Panther. Guys in Chicago shouldn't even be allowed to vote anymore, really. And the shit that Bobby Rush says, you gotta understand, he's getting paid by your tax dollars. Now, another video is Piers Morgan debating a black preacher. And the black preacher flat out calls Martin a thug. Okay? Now, I'm not going to say Zimmerman is a hero either, because Zimmerman was suspected of domestic violence. He was suspected of assaulting a police officer. But Zimmerman had a black great-grandfather. He took a black girl to the prom. He started a business with a black friend. He mentored black teens for a living to keep them out of gangs, keep them off drugs, keep them out of trouble. When the program was canceled, he mentored 2 black kids on his own time. There was a black homeless man that had the shit beat out of him by a white police officer. Zimmerman complained about the white police officer on behalf of the black homeless man. 36 people were interviewed by the FBI, and they said under oath, Zimmerman is not a racist. Can you get 36 guys to say you're not a racist under oath? No. Okay, but we want more justice for Trayvon. Let's ignore all the black kids killed by black people. Let's ignore all the white people killed by black people. Let's ignore black on black violence, white on white violence. Let's ignore the liberal bullshit, communist lifestyle where you take the minorities, throw them in the hood, and then kill each other and not help them. Okay? Let's ignore that. Let's ignore OJ. Let's ignore... Okay? And let's focus on this. Now, a lot of celebrities are saying they're going to boycott Florida. Well, fuck you too. Okay? Stevie Wonder said he's not going to go to any state that has stand your ground law. Well, you know what, Stevie? New York State has a backdoor stand your ground law written into the Castle Doctrine. Keep your fucking ass out of here too. And first of all, Stevie, how do you even fucking know if you're in Florida or not? And before we close, I have another promise to keep. I forgot to show Gabby's actual autograph last time. Hi, Vinny. Thank you so much. Blah, blah, blah. Hi, Vinny. Thank you so much for your support. You are one of the few fans I always remember. Love, Gabby Franco, 7413. And once again, I thank her so much. She's such a wonderful person, such a good shooter, valued member of our community. God bless Gabby. Okay, take care, guys.